You know, Liberty Defenders, it's time that once more we look at Canada and learn some big lessons about the right to self-defense, as Justin Trudeau again attacks the inherent right to acquire firearms. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. Oh, Canada, indeed. Taking a page from his beloved communist China, the great leader of Canada, aka Justin Trudeau, on October 21st, officially announced his unilateral claim to ban handgun transfers across all of the Great White North. Now, I say claim because prohibition, of course, doesn't stop demand or trade of the prohibited thing or service. So while he can claim a ban, Trudeau could have actually looked at Canadian history to see that his ban of legal transfers actually won't stop the Canadian gun trade. I say his beloved communist China because Trudeau in 2013 appeared to entertain a gaggle of insensate wine-sipping ladies with his grin-filled admiration for Chinese authoritarianism.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China. Their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime and say, we need to go green as fast as we need to start, investing in solar. I mean, there is a flexibility that I know Stephen Harper must dream about of having a dictatorship that he could do everything he wanted.
And I say that also because beginning in 1935, the Chinese government forbade many firearms, ramping it up in 1966 as mass killer Mao began his second stage of the Cultural Revolution, and as he increased the size and murderous activity of the Red Guard. It might not come as a surprise to see Trudeau reacquaint Canadians with his charming tyrannical mentality. After all, it was Trudeau who, in January, unilaterally suspended the Canadian Charter of Rights by claiming emergency powers that he didn't have. It was Trudeau who forbade travel between provinces, locked bank accounts of trucker protest supporters, and promoted legal indemnification for banks that did the same should they discover any customers supporting the truckers. It was Trudeau who forced pro-trucker Ottawa businesses to close. And of course, it was Trudeau who sent cops into the streets of the Canadian capital to trample beneath them the rally attendees as they rode on their horses. He did it all, of course, in a manner that flouted the 1988 Emergencies Act, dismissed the Charter of Rights, which, by the way, still supersedes the Emergency Act, and he did it in a way that preempted the parliamentary procedure itself, the procedure for so-called emergencies. Indeed, it was Trudeau who did all of this before the legislative branch even voted on a so-called emergency. And as was revealed 2 weeks ago, he did so even as internal Department of Public Safety documents in Canada reported that there was no evidence of violence from Freedom Convoy participants outside the Canadian Parliament in Ottawa. So, his newest try at tyranny might not be surprising to those who study him or who actually have experienced his brand of Canadian hospitality, using executive power again to unilaterally declare his handgun ban. In his tax-funded announcement about the ban, entitled Freezing the Market on Handguns, Trudeau and his gang told their serf-like population in Canada many notable things. The first being this gigantic whopper, quote, "Fewer guns means safer communities," which is precisely the opposite of reality, shown over and over again in statistics such as the FBI Uniform Crime Report database, where, for example, violent crime is shown to have steadily decreased from 2007 through 2011 in the United States, even as gun ownership skyrocketed during that period, and of course, where that trend was shown to have continued as the FBI kept watching the numbers for years. The Trudeau administration has this to say in addition to that giant whopper, quote, "Handguns are the weapon of choice in most firearm-related crimes, which is why limiting the number of handguns is a critical part of our plan to protect Canadians from gun violence." Yet, as Ryan McMacken notes for the Mises Institute, quote, "Canada enjoyed very low homicide rates during the 1950s and 1960s. However, from 1967 to 1977, the homicide rate nearly doubled from 1.66 per 100,000 to 3.0 per 100,000. This decade of growth in homicide rates followed the 1969 Bill C-150, which created new categories of restricted and prohibited firearms while granting police the power to preemptively seize privately owned firearms from persons who were deemed a danger to society by the state. But far be it for anyone to be critical of Justin Trudeau. After all, he can make a room full of ladies vacantly nod and chuckle, even as he praises a communist dictator. How can we possibly slam the guy for his anti-rights attitude, or for the fact that Justin is taking action before any legislation actually is even passed? Back in May, the gun grab bill C-21 was proposed as a purported response to the Uvalde school shooting, a move that my friend, YouTube researcher and pro-liberty commentator Liberty Doll notes is odd, not only because it's tyrannical, but since the Uvalde shooting happened when a criminally minded aggressor entered a gun-free zone, and then police, yeah, the kinds of people Trudeau wants to make the only ones with guns, police didn't intervene for a shocking stretch of time.
The bill isn't even out of committee, hasn't reached their Senate, and isn't even halfway through the process to become a law. But Trudeau wants a gun ban, and he wants it now. I'd like to say that that must be a Canadian thing and that we don't do things like that here, but that's what unconstitutional executive orders are for.
So Trudeau is not only flouting the Canadian legislative process, he's flouting logic and crime data, and most of all, he's flouting human rights. Is anybody surprised by this? Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe if you're watching on Rumble. Thank you for finding us there, and please suggest the Rumble channel to a lot of folks. Hit the plus sign too, that helps push the videos up in the algorithms. We'll see you on YouTube as well. I'll talk to you in the comments section. So great comments, by the way, last week. Really appreciated what some of the folks had to say, and hope everybody's gearing up for a really fun winter. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and summer, or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, say hi to the Southern Cross for me. And we'll see you at MRCTV.org. That's MRCTV.org. We'll see you at the MRCTV Facebook page, which is still very, very busy over there. And we'll see you on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, and on Parler. Yay, Parler. If you want to find me on Gab, I'm at Gardner Goldsmith, and on Twitter, I'm at Gard Goldsmith. For MRCTV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.